So Denis Villeneuve, needless to say, there were high expectations for Blade Runner 2049. Before the film opened, I'm curious, what was your anticipation level like? I mean, were you nervous, excited for fans to see it? What was your anticipation level
I
like?
was really looking forward to share it with the fans because the level of secrecy around this project was we 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 deal with the level of secrecy like the CIA. I don't know. There was so much secret. I mean, we had to protect all everything all the time. So it was for me a relief to share it with the audience. And at the same time, I will say that I was really looking forward to have the feedback from the fans. Uh, uh, but there was a part of me that was in peace when the movie opened because Ridley Scott and Harrison Ford had seen the movie already, and they had been very generous with me. They loved the movie. So for me, I was like feeling not secure, but in peace, you know. So that's what I would say.
The film has been in development for such a long time. I'm curious, when you came aboard, what stage was the script in? Where was it at when you came on board?
It was like a pretty advanced screenplay written by Michael Green from two drafts from Hampton Ventures. Hampton Venture. It was like advanced, but it needed the. It's always the same, you know. As a director, you have a script in your hands. There's a lot. There's work that needs to be done, specifically about not the story, but about budget-wise. The movie was a bit too much expensive, and more important than anything else, the movie was written for Ridley. With all my respect and admiration for Ridley Scott, I'm very different, and I needed to bring the story closer to me in some ways. So I didn't change the nature of the story, of course, but we did a fair amount of work with Michael on the screenplay to so I feel home. Yeah.
Could you give us some examples of some of the ways that you made the story your own?
But the thing is that just as an example, I will say the approach of Kate, character played by Ryan Gosling, walking, discovering Las Vegas was totally different in the original screenplay. I will say that the attack on Vegas was also very different. It's like I mean, I will say if someone was reading the original screenplay and seeing the movie, you will see it's normal. I'm paid for that to make the movie mine. I mean, it's like everywhere. This movie mine. I mean, I didn't have the choice. That's the only way to work. I mean, you have to and it's a process that I'm doing right now on Dune. You know, it's like to revisit the scenes and find images, cinematic images that will that I feel that I will be able to do and that are inspiring me.
Speaking of those images, I mean, obviously the original Blade Runner is very well known for the world that it creates and its visual look. So what were some of the ways that you and your department heads, like Roger Deakins and Dennis Gassner, what were some of the ways that you expanded on the world of the original and made it something new and unique?
The thing is that it was, as long as I was in Rick Deckard's neighborhood, what I call his neighborhood, within that cityscape that we all know from the original Blade Runner, I felt secure. You know, I knew I was like in known territory. But the thing that was a big challenge for me was when we were getting out of that neighborhood, when we were going on the outskirts of Los Angeles, when we were going to Las Vegas, when we that was a challenge because I knew that we will be in a different scenery that will need to bring something different, but I will need to make sure that we will stay in contact, we will stay in the same kind of spirit as the original Blade Runner. And that was a long journey. It's the first time that I was doing something inspired by the dream of someone else, by Ridley Scott's dream, you know. So I felt a huge responsibility, like more precisely, that scenes like Vegas or the trash mesa, the character is traveling in the a trash dump, the Los Angeles municipal trash dump at one point, and I made sure that always to try to keep a link with the urban landscape, you know, and never go away from the idea of LA, and always try to keep the essence of what makes a Blade Runner movie, which I think part of it is that kind of film noir quality, the tension, and those atmospheres, you know, the thick atmosphere, cloudy, foggy atmospheres.
There's also the influence of growing multiculturalism that was explored in the original film and that you expand upon in this one. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, the thing is that one thing that was quite revolutionary in the first movie was this idea that it was a sci-fi movie, but you were still reading the levels of time. There was like in the first Blade Runner, that happens in 2019. From the 80s, you were seeing from the 70s. You were seeing like neon signs that belong to the past, or the architecture buildings that belong to the early 20th century, and still you were in the future. There was like, you felt the time, like in real life. That made the world is Ridley's world more real, more accurate, more relevant. And that I try to have the same approach. So it means that the cultural influences that are in the first movie are still present, and they are like, we feel. I was trying to induce the idea that there will be new cultural influences that will be a bit stronger in this Blade Runner. One of them is the Russian influence. That feels like there's like hints everywhere that it's a culture that is in this world, in this alternate universe, has a lot of influence and a lot of economic power present in the United States. Why? Because I felt that it was a way to express to the viewer that we were in an alternate universe, you know, that some political power were still, like the Soviet Union, were still present, like in the Philip K. Dick novel. You know, that's what I thought was really, it was really exciting to redefine the world for 2049, and it gives the distance between the world of the movie and the world of today, gives like a kind of comment on today.
Mm-hmm. You're also dealing, of course, with the expansion of technology. I mean, obviously, the original Blade Runner is all about robots and things, so that comes with the territory. But it's interesting the ways in which you guys explore what technology is going to look like 35 years from now, particularly with his girlfriend. You know, almost like a human version of Siri. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, the thing is that I will say that for me, what the movie is interesting, it's what it says about the world today, not about the vision of the future we depicted. Because basically we are depicting a future that is inspired from the first movie, not from our reality. But what it says about today is our relationship with technology, the way it's seen in the movie that our character cannot have an intimate relationship, but with what will be an app, you know, with a machine, and that machine is designed to fulfill his desires. It's like an app that is a mirror of his conscience. I mean, it's really an app that she's there to desires. You know, if he wants to do sports, she will try to encourage him to go outside and to run. You know, it's like that kind of thing. She's there to help him to be more happy. You know, and that, I think, that relationship with technology, that how the boundaries between machines and humans are, from an intimate point of view, are smaller and smaller. We are closer and closer. That's something I thought was quite interesting, and how technology doesn't bring us closer one to the other, but we are closer to the technology itself. That I thought was an interesting comment. The thing which is make this movie singular also is that it's a sci-fi movie with very high-end advanced technology, but also there's something a bit retro about it because there's no more internet. So it means that it's a world, it's an analog world. The digital world is confined to very specific domain. The digital girlfriend we were talking about earlier. But apart from that, it's an analog world. And that I felt sometimes as we were shooting, I had a strange impression to do, I was doing a period movie instead of a sci-fi movie because of the way of to reality in a way that it reminds me of the old noir film instead of today's movie.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about working with special effects in this movie? I mean, how much of this stuff was practical? How much of it was computer generated?
But the thing is that it was very important. It was fundamental for me that we will build all the sets. I mean, everything was done on camera. I'm talking about set design, the apartments, the streets, the buildings, all the landscapes were real. I mean, there were, but there's a tremendous amount of CGI, of course, in the movie to transform the backgrounds, to add the elements in the background. I will say come some visual effects stunts, that I cannot talk about because I don't want to really, I don't want to give spoilers, but there's things that I think had not been done in a movie before, or that had not been achieved with that kind of level of quality before. And I think that it was this way because the people working on the movie wanted to honor the legacy of the original Blade Runner. The original Blade Runner, the visual effects, that what Douglas Trumbull did in the original Blade Runner, the VFX supervisor, is it's masterful. I mean, you can still, today, the original Blade Runner is like still a landmark from a visual effects point of view to honor that legacy. So that's why every single artist that worked on this movie gave their best. I mean, I think that the movie achieved things that were not done before. That I'm very proud of.
I wanted to ask you about the cast, starting with Ryan Gosling. Can you talk a little bit about working with him? And, because I mean, the character of Rick Deckard is so central to the original Blade Runner, and now here's somebody kind of filling in his shoes in a sense. I mean, what was that relationship like between you two?
Well, it's Ryan. I mean, I was able to do this movie because of Ryan Gosling. What I mean is that he was with me every minute of the making of this project. He was like my a very strong ally. He was not just there to punch in the morning and go. He was really like we spent days, weeks together talking about every single scene before the movie started. Helped me a lot to dig into the scenes and to make sure that every line there was as simple as elegant as possible. We explored all the structure of the movie together. It was like for me a privilege because that's the thing I do usually alone, but to do it with a close partner like that made things more dynamic. And also I will say that as the movie was going along, Ryan is someone that has a very strong spirit, very positive energy, and I needed that energy to go through that insane long shoot, meaning the indie world. I was not used to that kind of length of shoot, and Ryan's attitude was like very important for me. So I will say he was my muse, he was my partner. I never felt alone in the dark. He was always there with me. We shared the responsibility together, and I'm very grateful for that. Now, as an actor, I mean, there's a lot of moments in the movie that I owe him a lot because the movie was written for him. And when I read the screenplay, I said, okay, that's for Ryan. And he's the only actor I approached. What he brought to the movie is think it's fantastic.
And then Harrison Ford reprising his role as Rick Deckard, but 35 years into the future. What was that like working with him?
Very moving. Harrison Ford is like, we all know him as a huge star, but for me, I never met the star. I met a very strong actor, someone that has a lot of knowledge about acting. Like I rarely encounter in my life is someone that I had the impression to go back to film school almost in a very positive way. That all the discussion we had about each line, about all the scenes together. There's moments where I had like sessions of work with Harrison and Ryan themselves. I mean, I owe them both a lot. Um, I mean, sessions on the scenes, on the dialogues. Sorry, I'm not precise enough here. And one thing that really moves me is that Harrison is still very passionate about what he does. I mean, I felt that the flame is totally there. He's not bored. He loves filmmaking, and I felt his excitement. It's a thing that you cannot fake. And I owe him a lot too because I would have not been able to bring back Rick Deckard alone. I really needed him, and it's a thing that I said. One of the first things I said to him that I needed a partner. Bring back it's a huge responsibility to bring back a character from 35 years. It's like so. I mean, he created the first appearance of Rick Deckard in the first movie. I needed him to create that second one.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you about the soundtrack because I mean it really goes a long way in complementing the images, not just the score, but the sounds, the sound effects themselves, the way that they kind of blend in with the music. Can you talk a little bit about that?
It's crucial. The thing is that I was taking a lot of liberties visually, but I felt that something that was in the DNA of the original Blade Runner movie was the sound design and the music that are very unique, very revolutionary, and that's a thing that I felt that um, my movie needed to be close to that spirit, and I insisted, and my sound design crew did a very impressive work. I had first I fulfilled a fantasy of mine, which was to work on the sound not just in post, but as we were shooting. The boys started to work as we were shooting. They started the sound design very early, very early. I wanted every sound to be unique and singular and original. And he worked for a year and a half like that, full time on the sound designing this world. Be something we have not heard before, and with the very specific aesthetic of the Blade Runner, where sound design and music are blended, and we don't know when sometimes it's where is the border between sound and music. So sometimes my sound design teams were doing things that sounds almost like music, and sometimes my music team was doing things that were almost sound design. Both teams work very closely together. As for music, I felt as the movie was evolving that I needed music that was very close to Vangelis. Vangelis' score is again a masterpiece, and I felt that every time I was putting music that was close to this spirit on my images, it was like my images were like responding very strongly to that. It didn't accept any other kind of music. So I insisted when I approached Ben Wallfish and Hans Zimmer, I wanted them to take back from the closet that insane piece that is the CSAT, old synthesizer that is half digital, half analog. It's really a beast of a synth, very strange instrument, very difficult to play with. And they compose the music of the movie on the same instrument that Vangelis used in order to be in the same familiarity, the same world. Yeah.
You received your first Oscar nomination earlier this year for Arrival, another sci-fi film. Congratulations on that, by the way. You've also got Dune that you're working on right now. What is it that attracts you to science fiction, as a genre for filmmaking?
Man, first of all, it's my first love. It's like I started to I grew up reading tons of graphic novels coming from Europe, with very strong authors that were making me dreamer when I was young. So it's something that and dreams were linked with the future, with escaping with space, with the unknown, how to explore the unknown. Because today on Earth, the territory is called, we saw everything, but now in order to confront ourselves, to confront our human condition. I mean, to push the boundaries, you need technology higher, and the explorer of my youth were all astronauts. There was something linked with space and the question and the vertigo of the questions raised by the existence of the universe, the existential questions. And science fiction is a very dynamic to explore those ideas, and I feel that there's an answer there. There's an answer to all those questions, and I love how science fiction is getting us closer to these answers. But anyway, so it's a passion I have, and I was waiting to do science fiction since a very long time. And now that I can do it, and I have the energy, because it's a thing that as much as I was dreaming to do science fiction since I'm a kid, I must say that to do science fiction, I think it's very difficult. It's something, my admiration for people like Ridley Scott, Spielberg, or all the great directors or Kubrick that did strong sci-fi movies. It's very difficult to build a world. Myself, I thought it was quite a challenge. Yeah.
Receiving that Oscar nomination for Arrival, so many other people on your team were nominated as well. The film also won for its sound mixing. What did that kind of recognition mean for you? And to see so many people on your team, the producers, the cinematographer, sound people, production design, see all those people recognized?
But the thing is that, in fact, I think Arrival for sound design. The thing is that it's, for me, what I like about, because okay, let's face it, it's a strange process. Those are movies for me are piece of art, and there's no competition between poetry or between art, paintings, or it's a strange thing that we make a competition between movies like that. How come one is the only thing that is telling you a movie is better than the other one is if it does survive through time. But the good thing about Academy Awards for me is that it put the spotlight away from the director and the stars. It put the spotlight on the people, the artists that are working in the shadow, like sound designers, cinematographer, editor, costume designers, all those people that work very hard and that are part. That's the beauty of cinema. It's a teamwork. So I like the idea that the award season for me, it's a celebration for the artists that are in the shadow. And that's beautiful.
Well, Denis, thank you very much, and congratulations on Blade Runner 2049. I look forward to whatever you're working on next, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good one.